Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. So you're the hat guy.
One of them, yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for inviting me back here. And so today what we're going to do is get a hat custom fitted. Is that right?
Yes.
What is the first step to getting a hat custom fitted?
So the first part is you kind of need to know what you want. Even if it's color, at least a color, we can go from there. We'll find you your correct size. We can make minor adjustments to it. If you need it stretched, we can stretch a little bit. We can't stretch the next size, but we can stretch a little bit. If you find a hat that fits fairly well front and back, we can always add some foam on it to fill in the sides, just because everybody has a different shape of head and they really only make two different types of hats, whether a long oval or round oval. So we'll get you all set up.
Okay, perfect.
So you have these 6 shapes here on the top.
Okay.
These 5 down here are the exact same ones as down here. Okay. The only real difference shapes is either the Montana Peak or the Cool Hand Luke. Only difference with these is you have a shorter brim than a smaller brim than a normal cowboy hat, which is about 4 to 5 inch brim.
Okay, very cool. I'm going to try this on, right?
Yes.
This is the one with the cattleman's crease. Okay.
So casually walking around, you want the bottom of the hat band in between your eyebrows and your natural hairline.
Okay.
When it gets windy, because Wyoming is notorious for its wind, it blows all the time. If it stops blowing here, we're all falling over. You put that hat band right on your eyebrows. Okay. And kind of at an angle. You push up, you put it on your head. You'll feel it snug up. You can flick it if it doesn't move, as long as it doesn't feel like it's going to give you a headache or that goofy red mark going across your forehead in 10 minutes, then you found the right size.
Okay, perfect. I'm here with Justin Nettik from the Boot Barn, and he has been shaping hats for quite some time. He's going to be helping me out with my hat today. So Matt got me started, helped me figure out which hat to get, and then Justin's taken over and going to go from there. So Justin, before we start, can you tell me a little bit about your background and what got you into shaping hats?
Well, third generation cowboy, and you know, most cowboys or cowgirls are pretty particular about their hat shape, and I just kind of was fed up with other people shaping my hat. So when I was about 13, I decided to try to start teaching myself how to. So that was 28 years ago. So I've touched a few of them, and you know, I enjoy doing it. I've always been good making things with my hands or doing stuff with my hands. So, well,
thank you so much for helping me. I'm looking forward to it. Today, the hat that we're going to be shaping, you're going to be shaping, is it's a felt hat. Tell me about the hat. Now, I am new to hats.
It's a Rodeo King open crown 7X. The more X's a hat has means there's kind of a higher beaver hair content in there. And with the open crown, the sky's the limit. It's an open blank. We can shape it any which way that someone might want a hat.
Okay, perfect. The style that we went with,
it's known by either the telescope or the buckaroo, and it's got a round flat top just the same way that mine is. And from one hat shape to another, it's just personal preference what someone might like the look of versus another.
All right. Yeah, so we tried a bunch of different hats on, and I really like that shape in general. I feel like it's kind of unique, as Justin had mentioned as well, not seeing it very often. So I think for me, that's the perfect shape, and we're going to go with that. So how do we get started? What's the first thing we need to do to get going with the hat shaping?
Right off the bat, what we do is have someone stick the hat on, get it perfectly centered on their head, and I'll actually stick a toothpick right in line with their nose, so that way as I'm shaping it, I get everything straight to where it's not canted off to one side. So when it comes to shaping hats and the amount of steam that they take, some hats require a little bit more steam than others to be able to move around. When I first started shaping hats, I started doing it with a tea kettle on my stove at home to produce steam to shape felt hats. Never attempted to do a straw hat just because they take a lot of steam. And the palm leaf hats, you can also soak them in water to shape them, so I sink many of them in my bathtub. just bringing this down to where it's at a right height, but everything even. So one side's not higher than the other. Just kind of eyeball it for the beginning. And also keeping it good enough and round to where it's not oblong or weird to a different shape. And the last step, once I have everything pretty even, is I go around and kind of pinch the top ridge so it's a nice crisp top to it, and makes it also easier once I go to push the center of the hat back up so you have a spot for your head. It helps everything stay in place even. I will spray a little bit of hat stiffener on there before I proceed. That helps kind of keep this ridge up on top without kind of going out of shape as I go to do the other portion of it. And stiffener for felt hats also can work really well if you go through a few rainstorms and your hat ends up getting a little bit floppy to where it's not nearly as stiff on the brim to hold a shape. You can use the stiffener to spray on there and help it kind of sturdy up so it doesn't go out of shape nearly as easy. Close. By pushing it in there just to even everything up and bring it right to the edge. And the last deal, since this is kind of pressed up, before getting to pressing it down, making it even, I'll just give it a little bit more of the stiffener so it stays in that shape pretty well. Make sure everything's even. And then I'll get a little bit of steam. And then just slightly press this down, try to get it uniform to where the center's not sticking up higher on the hat than this outside ridge is. Yeah, in the factories, if they do any kind of shape to the hat, whether it's this or the cool hand loop, they literally have a deal where they get a good amount of steam, stick the hat in there, and it's just a giant press, they push it down. So the chances, you know, a lot of times they'll get everything real good and even, but there's definitely chances that I've seen some hats come right out of the box from the factory and have the center of the hat right here, but the buckle, you know, the cattleman crease be like 1/4 of an inch crooked to one side, which is all sorts of goopy. And there we go. That is the finished product as far as getting the telescope, or better known to me, buckaroo top. The next step would be going ahead and shaping the rim shape. So generally we do it the front about cheekbone width on someone, more or less, unless they want it a little bit more narrow or wider than that. Just kind of matches it to their face and kind of frames their face in. And this here, I'm just trying to make everything even. And periodically I'll even have the person put the hat on so I can look at them wearing it to essentially make sure I've got everything even to where it's not going off to one side or the other, which this one is right now. Alrighty, right now I think I need to have you put the hat on so I can see you wearing it to make sure the front width is gonna look correct on you. Put your head down just a little bit so I can get straight on there. Maybe a little bit more narrow. Now I'll start by bringing up the sides at an even level to make sure they look even and both are at the same degree angle, sweeping up from one side to the next. On this particular style, I think maybe just about halfway up or so is going to look the best. But it really comes down to just personal preference, what someone likes versus dislikes, what they think looks better on their head. I tell everybody that I can give you a bunch of advice when it comes to shaping hats and how your hat is shaped, but at the end of the day, it's your money, your head, so it's your call, whichever style you want on your head. Now I'm going to do this to bring the front of the brim down just a little bit. Pretty much all cowboy hats will kind of sweep down just ever so slightly in the front, which is also one of the reasons why you never sit a hat down like this, because you will flatten out the brim, and if a hat goes straight out from the crown, it kind of looks a little bit strange. Now to fine tune the sides up front to where they even on both sides and have just a gentle sweep down in the front. Get a little bit of stiffener and let it cool down just a little bit before kind of doing a final tune of the hat. Definitely have to teach yourself the wrong and right places to hold a hat when you are getting steam on it, not to burn your finger, because it is mighty hot. And I wouldn't say I have any scars from it, but there's definitely been some times that I got myself pretty good, and it gets your attention very fast. Usually once I think I have it, I just do a once over with the hat, looking either side, making sure that the sides are even, they're both at the same angle. Alrighty, if you want to go ahead and put it on, look in the mirror. Before you walk over there, go ahead and look at me, step forward just a little bit. Sometime the just slight final tweak kind of helps you overall be able to see if everything's straight by seeing it on your head. Mm-hmm. And I did notice one part here was slightly off.
Okay.
Until your head just a tiny bit. I think everything is looking pretty darn even if you're liking the angle that everything is up at.
Okay.
Just make it sure that it even.
Well, I just want to thank you so much. I love it.
problem.
It looks so good. You guys like it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
okay. And just wanted to say a huge shout out to Visit Cheyenne. Get in here. This is Jim. Thank you also for giving me the opportunity to have this whole experience and this hat.
Yeah, looks great.
Thank you.